CEO of WITI, bring Prompt 24 to a close with a discussion to equip you with actionable strategies for integrating AI into your daily work to enhance your market value and develop indispensable fusion skills. We'll also get a sneak peek into WITI's exciting plans for the future, proving that this summit is just the beginning of a transformative journey. Let's leave energized, equipped, and ready to lead with confidence in this ever-changing environment. Again, thank you for joining us. Let's welcome Kamil Banc and David Layton.
Thank you. And Kamil, great to have you here. I'm going to turn it over to you, but we last because we know you're staying so bleeding edge. There's probably stuff in the last 24 hours you picked up. So probably had to change things a few times and
slightly. Always adapting and creating. Before we start, can I share my screen and the sound as well?
Just make sure you check.
All right.
Make sure you check the sound boxes before once you.
All right, just as always then. Okay. So are we ready to go?
It's on you.
All right. So guys, I'm going to be talking a little bit and then maybe we can have a Q&A at the end and then David will give some closings. Okay. And David, please let me know this time if I'm actually sharing my desktop instead of just my, Last time my entire desktop was shared. Okay, let's see. Okay, there you go. Can you see this? All right, so this is my talk today. I want to talk about, essentially as it says, why direction will be more important than execution from an employee's and professional's perspective. But first off, I want to show you something that kind of got me on that train of thought. So this is just another Sunday morning with my kids. All right. A little bit of AI, AR, classical music. And I actually figured out what a conductor's role is. Super cool. At least it felt really cool. It doesn't look cool from the outside. And I get to teach my kids a little bit about classical music, which obviously you can see they're super excited. Anyway, so direction and execution. I know somebody mentioned it just before and probably before that as well, this quote. You know, if I had a quarter every time someone said AI won't replace you, but someone using AI will, well, I guess I still couldn't afford a Starbucks coffee, but that's beside the point. Here's what bugs me about that phrase. What does using AI actually mean? Are we talking about someone who knows all the right prompts? Maybe someone who can navigate every new tool that comes out? Because if that's the case, we're all in trouble. There's a new AI tool coming out probably right now as I'm speaking to you. No, I think we're thinking about this the wrong way. And I realized this while working with a client, let's call her Sarah. That's my mother-in-law's name, so let's just go with Sarah. She's a marketing director at a mid-sized company. She came to me frustrated saying, Kamil, everyone keeps telling me to use AI, but what does that even mean? I'm drowning in tools and tutorials. And then 6 months later, Sarah's team was outperforming their targets by 40%. Never asked for, okay? The future of work is direction, not execution, at least in my opinion. And in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what this means for you and, more importantly, how to thrive in this new era. But first, let me show you some numbers that, well, I don't know if they'll still surprise you based on what you've seen this last 2 days here, but let's go over it quickly anyway. Let me hit you with the reality check here, okay? 73% of companies are already using AI in some way. Impressive number, right? But here's the twist. Most of them are actually missing the point entirely. Look at how we're spending our time. Right now, managers, probably many of you on this call, spend less than 30% of your time actually leading. Think about that. Less than a third of your time is spent on what you're really hired to do. And then the rest, you're executing tasks, writing reports, creating presentations, maybe like this one, analyzing data, all things that, let's be honest, AI could probably handle and maybe even handle better in some cases. But that's not the bad news, really. It's actually an opportunity. Because while everyone else is obsessing over which AI tool to use next, arguing about the perfect prompt or worried about which jobs AI might replace, they're missing something really massive, in my opinion. They're missing the fact that AI isn't really coming for your job. It's coming for your tasks. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. Because when AI takes care of execution, you get to focus on direction. When it handles the what, you get to focus on the why. When it deals with the routine, then you can focus on the revolutionary. But here's another $1 million question. Are we really ready for this shift? I almost said a bad word here. I think that, is it really are we ready for it? And are we prepared really to step up from being executors to being directors? That's a question that everybody has to answer for themselves, but I think that's where it's going. So let me show you what I mean by that. As I said, the greatest promotion you never asked for. I like to think of it, yeah, it's involuntary, but also nobody's going to ask you for it. So just like any promotion, it comes with new responsibilities, higher expectations, and yes, some growing pains. So let's break it down in a way that makes sense. Think about what actually is happening in companies that are getting this right. Writers aren't just writing anymore. They're directing AI to generate content, then shaping the narrative, refining the voice, ensuring it hits exactly the right notes. Analysts aren't just crunching numbers. They're actually orchestrating, as I was in the beginning. That's why I get the hint. They're orchestrating those AI systems to dig through data, then focusing on what those numbers actually mean for that business. And then designers aren't pushing pixels anymore. They're becoming art directors, using AI to explore dozens of directions while the focus is on creating a vision and a strategy. See the pattern there? In every case, we're moving up a level, from doing to directing, from executing to deciding, from following the path to choosing which path to take. And here's what makes this promotion different from any other one that you might have had. Nobody's going to ask you if you're ready. Nobody's going to give you a training period, and nobody's going to clearly define your new role. And you know what's funny? Some of the most successful people I worked with didn't even realize they'd been promoted until they were already doing the job. Sarah, who I mentioned earlier, told me something interesting. She said, I used to spend my days writing. Now I spend my days thinking about what we should be writing and why. That's the shift. That's the promotion right there. And if you're wondering whether this is just corporate buzzwords or if there's a real impact here, let me show you some numbers that might surprise you. Now, I'm not a big fan of throwing around numbers just to impress you, but these findings, these actually stopped me in my tracks. Look at this. Workers who've embraced this shift, this move from doing to directing, are showing 40% better performance. Not 4%, not 14%, 40%. That's like getting 2 extra work days every week. But it gets better, as you can imagine. Business teams are producing almost 60% more output. Think about that. Without working longer hours, without bigger budgets, without hiring more people, it's just by changing how they work. And here's one that really blew my mind. Development teams, software development, are completing 126% more projects. They're more than doubling the output, not by coding faster, but by directing AI to handle the routine parts while they focus on architecture and innovation. Now, I can imagine some of you shifting uncomfortably in your seats. Maybe you're thinking, sure, but those must be the tech companies, the digital natives, the ones with a massive AI budget. That's wrong. These results are coming from regular companies, regular teams, regular people who just got one thing right. They understood that the tools are ready, the technology is there. That's not the bottleneck anymore. The only question is, are you ready? Because while these numbers are impressive, they're not actually about technology. They're about the fundamental shift in how we work. And that's where most companies are getting it completely wrong. Let me show you some of the mistakes that I'm seeing in reality. You know what the funny thing is about failure? It's usually not because of technology. It's almost always about how we think about the technology. The biggest mistakes I'm seeing companies make right now are the following. First, there's tool obsession. You know, every week there's a new AI tool that's coming out that's supposedly going to change everything. Companies rush to adopt it, make teams learn it, and then another tool comes out. They're basically chasing shiny objects while missing the whole point. It's like buying a fancy car without really knowing how to drive it well. Second, we've got the skills oversight. This one is actually scary because I found out that around 44% of leaders lack both organizational and AI knowledge. Think about that. Almost half of decision makers don't understand both the technology and their own organization well enough to make good calls. It's like trying to conduct an orchestra, again, when you can't read music and you don't even know your musicians. But the third one, the decision blind spot, this is where things get really interesting. Companies are so focused on automating tasks that they forget to ask the most important question. Who's going to direct all these automations? Who's making the strategic calls? Who's deciding what we should even be automating in the first place? Let's get back to Sarah to give you a real world example. When she started, her company had bought access to every AI tool out there. They had the best technology money could buy. And they were failing miserably. Why? Because they had all the instruments, but no conductor. This is where the real opportunity lies. While everyone else is stuck in these traps, arguing about which tool to use or trying to automate everything in plain sight, the companies that are winning are focusing on something completely different. They're focusing on building 3 essential skills that make all the difference. And these aren't just AI skills. These are the skills that will make you invaluable no matter what technology will come next. So let me show you what I mean. Here's where we get to the heart of this. We've talked about the shift happening. We've seen the impact it can have, and we've looked at where companies are getting it wrong. Now let's talk about what actually matters. Tomorrow's leaders, in my opinion at least, and I'm looking at everyone here on the Zoom call and abroad, wherever you are. If you're listening to this type of stuff, then you have a real opportunity. But you might need these 3 skills, not tools, skills. Get these right, and the tools really don't matter. You'll be able to adapt to whatever comes next. These skills are adaptability, critical thinking, and storytelling. Now, I know you might be thinking again, Kamil, really? This sounds like straight out of corporate buzzword bingo. But stay with me here because what these mean in the AI era is completely different from what you might think. These aren't soft skills you put on your resume or your LinkedIn profile. I mean, you can, I do, but these are your power skills, your career insurance, your ticket to becoming indispensable in a world where most tasks can be automated and will be automated. And also, these are my personal 3 focus areas of skills that I'm actively trying to improve in every day. You see, when I work with companies, I keep seeing the same patterns. The people who thrive, who really thrive in this new environment, aren't the ones who know the most AI tools or can write the best prompts. They're the ones who excel at these 3 skills. And here's what's interesting. You probably already have these skills. You just need to think about them differently. You need to apply them in a new way. So let's break them down one by one. Let's talk about adaptability first. I love this one. My life motto is to adapt and create, as you can see in this little logo here in the bottom. And I want you to forget about everything that you've heard about adapting to AI for a moment. You know that phrase growth mindset, right? Maybe you've heard it. It's thrown around a lot. When I talk about it, it's not just about being open to learning. It's really more about being excited to learn. It's about waking up every morning thinking, what old assumptions can I challenge today? I was talking to a senior executive last week who told me something fascinating. She said, for the first time in my 20-year career, my experience could be my biggest liability. She wasn't talking about her skills becoming obsolete. She was talking about her mindset. You see, the problem isn't keeping up with AI. The tools will always change. The real challenge is keeping your mind open when everything you know about work is being rewritten. Think about how we learned in school, for example. We were taught to master something, then use that mastery for years, but that model is slowly becoming obsolete. Today, the moment you think you've mastered something, it's probably already changing. A close friend of mine, Jim Quick, he's a brain coach, and he has this phrase that he always uses. I really like it. It goes like this: if knowledge is power, learning how to learn is your superpower. This is where true adaptability comes in. It's not about learning new tools. It's about falling in love with learning itself. It's about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, about seeing change as an opportunity, not a threat. Sarah put it perfectly. She said, I used to fear missing out on learning a new tool. Now I fear missing out on a new way of thinking. That's the mindset that makes you unstoppable. Because when you combine the love of learning with the ability to unlearn quickly, that's when you become future-proof. And here's the beautiful part. When you embrace this kind of adaptability, something interesting happens to how you think. Let's talk about critical thinking. In a world where AI can analyze data faster than any human, what's left for us to think about, you might think, right? Everything that matters, I would say. In the next few months, almost 60%, maybe even more, who knows, this field is adapting so fast. But around 60% of what we consider expert work, things like analysis, report writing, data interpretation, it will be all handled by AI. But that's exactly why critical thinking is becoming more valuable, not less. Think about it this way. Machines analyze, humans decide. Let me give you an example, again, from Sarah's team, because it's just perfect. They used AI to analyze thousands of customer comments in a matter of seconds, really. That's really impressive, right? But the AI couldn't tell them what to do about it. It couldn't weigh the trade-offs. It couldn't consider the human impact and how to implement those, what to do with that feedback. That's where you come in. Your value isn't knowing how anymore. AI can tell you how. Your value is knowing why. Should we do this? What are the implications? What matters most? The more AI advances, the more valuable this kind of thinking becomes, because while AI gets better at giving us options, someone still needs to choose between them. And that someone is you. But having great insights isn't enough by itself, especially if you can't get others to act on it. And that brings us to the third essential skill. And that is storytelling, okay? This might be a little bit abstract, but stay with me. You might be wondering why storytelling matters in the world of data and automation. Well, here's the truth. The better AI gets at generating insights, the more important it becomes for humans to make those insights matter. Think of yourself as a translator, not between languages, but between the possible and reality, okay? Between possibility and reality, between data and decisions, between what AI can do and what humans actually need. Look at the numbers. 72% of companies that successfully adopt AI share one thing in common. No, it's not better technology or bigger budgets, as I mentioned before. It's their ability to tell stories that drive change. I saw this firsthand with another team that had an incredible, they had incredible AI tools, amazing insights, groundbreaking possibilities, but nothing moved until they learned to turn those insights into stories that made people care. stories that made the complex simple, stories that turned the we could to we should. That's what real storytelling is about. It's not about making things sound pretty, although you can, especially with AI, it can help you a little bit, but it's about making them matter. It's about turning insights into action, analysis into understanding, and information into inspiration. Because here's what I've learned. AI can write content, but it can't create meaning, at least not yet, okay? It can generate reports, but it can't generate buy-in. It can process information, but it can't really make people care. That's your role. That's how you lead through influence. And that's how you turn AI from a tool into a transformation. And when you combine this with adaptability and critical thinking, well, that's when things get really interesting. So here we are. Your expertise plus the ability to direct AI equals, well, I'd say unlimited potential. But that sounds like something from a cheesy motivational poster, doesn't it? So let me put it this way. You're about to have some superpowers, real ones, not because you'll master every AI tool out there, but because you'll know how to orchestrate them and how to amplify what you're already great at. Remember how I started with that overused phrase that AI is not replacing you and all that type of stuff? Well, here's what I actually believe. AI won't replace you. It won't even replace the person using it. It will replace the old way of thinking and working. And that's fantastic news, in my opinion. Because while everyone else is busy debating whether AI is a friend or a foe, you now know something they don't. You know that the future isn't about doing more. It's about directing better. It's not about keeping up with AI. It's about leading with it. Think about Sarah one last time. A year ago, she was drowning in tasks, trying to master every new tool. And today, she's leading initiatives she wouldn't have even understood back then. Not because she became an AI expert, but because she became a director of possibility. And that's the opportunity in front of you right now. And the best part, you already have what it takes. You have expertise and you have experience. You have judgment. Now you just need to use them in the new way. So tomorrow morning, when you get to work or wherever, don't ask yourself, how do I use AI? Ask yourself, what could I direct AI to do? And then start small, think big, and have fun with it. Because the future of work isn't something that happens to you. It's something you get to direct. And that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kamil.